Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome everybody to the Coaches Lounge with yours truly, Barbara J. Beckley. And I'm here as always to spotlight the wonderful expert, the coaches, consultants, anybody that's helping you move the needle for your goals and your objectives in your life and get advice for life and business. To bring on, to spotlight, to give a gold star, as I want to say, to those coaches, to those consultants, those educators, to people that are like, you can do it, you can do it. And you're like, no, I can't, no, I can't. And you're so they know you can, I believe in you. We're giving a spotlight to those individuals. And every week on a Friday, I always want to spotlight these coaches. I created this show because I never really seen a show that really honed in on that. I mean, it's always like, the speakers or, which I am. I mean, of course, the author, which I am, of course, just doing the world nonprofits, yes, which I interview nonprofits and I do all that. But I was like, okay, well, what happened to the coaches? What happened to consultants? What are all the people behind the Oprahs? And I'm just telling you, in the Les Browns and all of them, they have coaches. Just a quick tip. If you didn't know, now you know. Yes, the popular celebrities deal with coaches in more than one. So why not you, right? And why not understand the different type of coaches out there and what they do and how they're lighthouses to the world, because they're saving our lives. They really are. When you're on that ledge, they're kind of like pulling you the other way, saying, no, let's get off the ledge. So that's why I wanted to make this show just come alive. And I have to say, I'm celebrating today. I just looked at the calendar. 2 years. Yes. 2 years I started this show and it's still running. I'm still bringing on the love of all these entrepreneurs, these coaches. So yes, celebrate. Not just for me, but for everybody. So with that, we have, now, I'm going to be, because now we have another wonderful, awesome. And when I have ladies come on the show, they're queens. Everybody say out there, I can't hear you, but I'm gonna be like, in my mind, I know you're saying this. Say yes, the queens. The women are queens. They're royalty. Yes, they are. So we have a wonderful lady, Mrs. Elizabeth C. Burrows, is a recovering overachiever and perfectionist turned life coach, podcaster, and speaker. See, I'm already loving her because we have that vibe. Through her company, the Life Edit Project LLC, she focuses on helping high-achieving women reach their personal goals without sacrificing professional success. I'm loving it. She walks you through her unique take on personal development, self-mastery, and mindset on her weekly show, the Life Edit Project podcast. Available now on all podcast platforms. She also offers a one-on-one coaching, workshops, and other resources year-round, which you can find online at www, saying it slow, lifeeditproject.com. I don't want nobody sitting there saying, well, what do you say? You said it's too fast, Barbara. Okay, I'll say it again. www.lifeeditproject.com. She is the CEO and the coach, and I'm telling you, she is going to bring a lot of gems on this particular show. But before I bring on the queen, I have to do her justice because she's royalty. So we will be right back on this little bitty clip. Boss lady, queen. Oh, boy. Miss Queen Elizabeth.
That was so much fun. So much fun. Yes, I almost want to go out and come back in so you can bring me in.
Well, get your recording. You can always listen to it. Yes. One thing I believe in is lifting up the queens and really showing and spotlighting as we're doing today now. So yeah, if you want me to call you up every day and I can record it and you can listen to it every day, how marvelous, spectacular, incredible, I'll think of a whole bunch of other adjectives about you. And you can listen to it every day.
I'm game. I am game.
Yes.
I
So
love it. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited and just pumped for this conversation.
I am too. And I wanted, because I'm very vulnerable, and because I feel that it gets that's a connection with the audience when you can be open and honest, right?
Yep.
So when we were in the virtual green room before we started this show, me and Queen Elizabeth, this is Queen Elizabeth.
Okay.
um, she, we had to reschedule because there's something happened in my family, death in the family. So she was so nice to say, okay. And then she rescheduled, because a lot of times when you get celebrities, sometimes they might not be able to reschedule, but this celebrity did. And I thank her for that. And the thing that I really love besides that is when we came on today and we were, I was kind of telling her how we're going to do everything so she can kind of get a feel on how, this works on this show. And she asked how I was doing. She said, not so much what I'm doing, how I'm doing, but how are you doing? And I'm telling you, it stopped me in my tracks, because I'm always the one that's always checking in and saying hi and making sure, which I love doing it because that's a part of me, that's part of my personality. But when it comes back to you and you're not used to getting that, the person that does it, you have to really take a pause and really thank them for it. So again, Queen Elizabeth, I thank you for that, because I'm telling you, I don't get that a lot. And when somebody just out the blue says, okay, I'm going to give this right back to you because I think you need that says a lot. That says a lot.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you are just like, I think, so many of the women that I have coached, in that, you pack your schedule because you got things to do. You've got goals you're trying to reach, right? And so you go, go, go. And a lot of times, our high achieving women, we tend to think that our feelings are inconvenient. And so we stuff them down, we set them to the side, we put them in the parking lot, because we don't have time for all that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a time and a place for that, but that is not a good long-term strategy. It is not one that serves you. And so, I mean, just knowing, that you're human, and as much as you pour into the community of coaches and consultants with all of your work, you're still a human up under there, and you deserve love and care and attention too. So, yeah.
I'm feeling the love through the screen. Oh, thank you, Queen. Yeah, and you're right. Because we're getting right into. I'm glad we're getting right into what you do and everything, and a little of that before we go to some other parts of it. But yeah, you're right. We do have a tendency, us as women, especially, we're trying to achieve. It's all in our head. We got to get this done. I got to talk to this person. I got to make sure this is right. And then you got to do the administrative part. You think about that. Far as being, especially a solo entrepreneur, you got to. It's everything. It's like
Yep.
I wash the windows and I make sure I'm doing marketing.
Yep.
So when is the time to say, "Oh, how are you doing?" That's the part that kind of gets lost in translation. But you're right. We tend to do that. And I'm glad that you work with us as women. You see, I probably need to sign up and be on your coaching program to
I'm
make
here.
sure that we're balancing that. Yeah. So I love it, lady.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot because you have so much, and I want to make sure we really, kind of do this right and pauses on some things. So I always ask everybody that comes on, because I like to pull that curtain back to say, okay,
Mm.
you're just brilliant. I mean, you're a coach, you're a podcast, all this, but it didn't start off that way. So something had you say, I think I want to do this. So I want to
Yep.
just hear a little bit of that.
So fun. Um, so I like to say that I was my own first client, because I was going through it. I kind of hit what it wasn't technically rock bottom, but I had what I like to call a come to Jesus moment, where I stopped and I said, okay, life just cannot continue on in this fashion because this ain't working. Um, and I was a couple of years into my marriage, and I was about a year and a half to 2 years into motherhood. And what I learned, well, what I expected with motherhood is that I would live the same life with my daughter in tow that I lived before I had her. And who I was before I became a mom was a busybody. And I was at all the places. I was showing up for all the things. I was, volunteering for all the places. And I was saying yes to every ask that came my way. And it wasn't really working, but I made it look like it was working. And so when I became a mom, there was this higher level of demand on my time and attention. I had lower energy, less fuel in my tank, and also there was kind of this glass ball that I could not drop. Right. So, there are lots of balls that we try to juggle. Some of them are rubber and they'll bounce if you drop them. Others are glass and they will shatter and break. And one thing I really wanted to be was a good mother. I wanted to be a good mother for my daughter because she deserves that. And so it was no longer working. Everything that looked like it was working before became visibly dysfunctional to me. And I was no longer willing to let it go that way. And so I did what I love to do when I come across a problem. I research, I go looking for answers. And I fell into kind of the internet black hole of self-development and personal development and self-help, which was fabulous. But I came across mindset coaching and principles of thought work that I had not been exposed to before. I had worked with a life coach before. I had been in therapy before, right? So I knew that there were tools out there, but I didn't know what they could do for me. And so I started applying these principles to my life and saw amazing changes so quickly. And so I started to document my journey on a blog. And that's how the Life Edit Project was born. But then I figured out that I actually had the knack and the skill for coaching people through their own transformations instead of just telling them about my own. And so that's how I became a coach. I like to say I fell into it.
And most of the time it seemed like that happens. That's why I always like to hear people's backstories, because we do either something, unfortunately, I had to say that something tragically happened in somebody's life, or you kind of fell into it, like you said, you were trying to do something else, and then all of a sudden, whoop, nope, that turned over to here. And you're like, oh, okay. Then you find you like it too with the okay, or somebody maybe said something in your life or put some thoughts and said, wait a minute, you're good at this. And you didn't even realize that. And then now you became, so it always happens in all different fashions, the destiny that we have to get to where we are.
Yep.
So, and you know what, the thing I love the most, what you said out of everything, you said so much, but everything, when you said, I just want to be a good mother to my daughter. You got my heartstrings, lady. You got my heartstrings. And see, we need to multiply you many times to be a mentor to all the young ladies out there, because it's needed. It really is. I was just saying the other day to somebody, I said, we need to figure out who are the, because we're getting older, we're all getting older. I know I'm probably older than you, but you understand where, as we get older, we have the young people coming behind us, and we have to make sure that we're there for them and they know what to do. They're going to be lost. So I'm glad that you, being that mentor to your daughter, you've been that mentor to other women, and I know other younger women too, probably, and that's what's needed. So kudos to you on that. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that I learned is that my daughter is watching me and learning from me, whether I decide to teach her something or not. She's watching and she's soaking it all in. And I had these other little epiphany moments. I remember when my daughter was very, very young, where I was having one experience and she was having another, but we're both in the same moment. And I could see that she was unhappy. Like if I had to tell her no for something, she would throw a fit because maybe she thought I was being mean, or, that I had forgotten something. And I remember having a flashback, feeling the exact same way in a similar situation with my own mom. And so in this one moment in time, I'm both mother and daughter. And so it hit me. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Here I am as a mom doing the best that I can, and not really living up to whatever it is that she's expecting, but also not being the kind of mom I want to be. And then being super aware that my mom did the exact same thing. She did the best she could with what she had at the time. And a lot of times I didn't think it was enough. Or I took it as she doesn't care, when what it
Mm,
really was she was making choices and prioritizing because she's a finite human being with limited energy and time. And so I had kind of this aha moment. I was like, oh, one, I was like, my mom was making it up as she went along. I was like, who
mm,
knew? Who knew? And I realized that because I was making it up as I went along. And then
mhm,
I decided to do something that I think not enough parents do on purpose, which is I
mhm,
decided to kind of pull back the curtain on parenthood
mhm,
and bring my daughter along with me. And instead of presenting myself as this all-knowing parent, that says do what I say or else because I'm your mom and that's why,
I
I
get that.
decided to explain things, to explain the way
Yeah.
that I to, share with her, in an age appropriate way, what
Mhm,
I'm thinking and why and how I'm doing my best, but also that I'm human. I don't always get it right. And sometimes I will disappoint her, trying to honor her feelings and apologize and value her because she's a human being that's fully formed with a heart and soul and dreams.
mhm,
Um, and she's not just an extension of me. And so I've tried to be very intentional in showing up as a parent that way. And that opened up
mhm,
just a whole different way of being. But it
mhm.
also took the pressure off. And I don't have to be a perfect mom because I'm her mom.
Yes.
And I think that was also kind of a big step in my own journey of
Mhm.
going from being a perfectionist to being a recovering perfectionist. I don't
I like
have
it.
to be perfect because my best is good enough.
Yeah. Oh, that's a mic drop. That is a mic drop. And I love what you did. Like you said, just a little bit more with you and your daughter, how you say, you know what, I'm gonna take her along. I'm gonna take her along the journey I'm going on because I want her to see and know. And you know what? That gives them a better respect for you. That gives them a much better respect. Because now they see the whole thing. You're like, okay, you know how some people be like, oh, that's what you gotta do. Now I
Yes.
understand why you say this to me, or this is the reason why you want me to think this. It's all of a sudden it kind of starts popping in their brain like, oh, that's why my mother said this, or that's why
Yeah.
we're doing it this way, or that's why I
Yeah.
might have to wait. So yeah, yes, yeah. See,
Yeah.
you know how they always say, Queen, I wish they had instructions, when you have a child. I wish they had instructions for us. And I'm like, I used to say that sometimes. I mean, I'm a godmother, but it's kind of like a mother because she's like my daughter. But I always hear people say that. And then I was thinking the same thing, like, yeah, I wish they had instructions. But you know what? I had to rephrase that now. I had to rephrase that. I said, no, because we don't all want to be in the same box. We don't obviously
Exactly.
cookie cutter mothers. How would
Exactly.
we? Yeah, we'd be like the Stafford wives, like everybody do.
Yeah. Exactly. I want to be the mom that my daughter needs, not the mom that I think I should be.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, another mic. Ooh, okay. Well, see, you got me. See, I get excited. I'm sorry, I do. I hear all the gold stuff, and I say, okay, I'm gonna be looking at this like a few times and take down the notes.
So me
But yeah,
too.
how some comes out, wisdom comes out your mouth. You be like, did I just say that? Oh yeah, that was good. But yeah, Queen,
Often. Yep.
awesome, awesome. So yes,
Yeah.
you are a wonderful, like I said, mentor, and like you just said before, just not just your daughter, but like you said, everybody, no matter what you think, and I tell people this all the time, people are always watching you. People are watching you. You might say, nah, they're not really looking. They're not probably paying attention to me. I'm like, yes, they are. Believe me.
Mm.
Because I thought the same thing until I either get a text, a message, or somebody told somebody, they told me. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know they were paying attention, in my
Yep.
mind. And they are watching. So you have to make that decision on what do you want them to watch? I mean, what you want to make
Yes.
sure what's going on.
Yes. If
Yeah.
they watch and give them something to look at.
If you want to watch, yeah, I'll give you something to look at. All right. Look at the success that you can do.
Yes. Exactly.
Or the opposite. Like I said, it's a choice. Yeah, that's why it's so important how you position yourself and how you're really doing stuff in your own world. So now I know, Queen, with your Life Edit Project LLC, I love the name of that.
Thank
Um,
you.
I love how you said without sacrificing professional success, reaching their personal goals, because a lot of people think that, oh, well, I'm working here, I'm doing this business, so I don't have time to do some personal stuff that I really want to build in my life. Can you go a little bit more about that? Because I know that's something that we all kind of fall into.
Yeah, absolutely. I think particularly for high achievers and particularly for high achieving women. So we know that we live in a patriarchal society, and so it's not set up with women in mind. And oftentimes, women who are trying to achieve high levels of professional success already feel like they have to choose between, family or, other personal goals and their profession. So that's already, something that they have to contend with. Even though I don't believe that those things are automatically in opposition, society often sends us the message that it is. So when a woman is also high achieving and her intention is to keep going, to make more money so that she has more freedom, and when she just has a big vision for her life, usually what she feels like is that she has to put her personal goals on hold and that
Mm,
she'll get to them later, that she has to kind of reach this initial level of professional success so that she can afford to take care of her personal success. And what often happens with high achievers is that there's no level of achievement that we get to where we feel like we have arrived. And so
mm-hmm.
we're just always climbing. We doesn't matter how far we get, we decide to keep going. And before you know it, our personal dreams have been on hold for years, decades, right? I myself found myself in a situation where I was on a 5-year plan on a particular job, and 10 years later, I looked up and I said, "What happened?"
I know the feeling, Queen. I was there.
So
I
I'm
was
not
just getting back to this. It's 10 years
right.
back.
Right. So I'm not just speaking, I'm speaking from experience, not just from what I've seen. I'm speaking from what I know. And
Yes.
and so I think it's really important for me and just the way that I work with women and with the experience that I've gotten to say right up front, these things don't have to be in opposition to each other. You can keep, racking up those achievements and milestones and promotions and all of that, and you can still have the relationship you want. You can be the kind of parent you want. You can take the time off that you want. You can take care of yourself. You can take that nap. You can take care of your body, right? Like there are all of the things that are still available. We just have to find the path and the formula that works for you, and we
Yes.
have to get really good at honoring the season of life that you're in.
Yeah. And I was when you were saying that, Queen, I was just thinking about how, we put things like we were both saying how we said, oh, we'll get to that later, and later became 10 years later. And that's the part when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, she's in my head. But it's a sign of making sure that you're loving on yourself. Because when you
Yes.
do put things to this, anytime you put yourself to the side, you gotta like check yourself in a sense, because you don't want to make sure that that's something else taking over something like you said that you want to do, and you put so many things like, because you got all this stuff going on, you're like, I'll get to it, I'll get to it, and then you didn't get to it, and now you're what? And I'm like, okay, what happened? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And there are some types of personal goals that have a built-in deadline,
Mm.
right? And it doesn't mean that the dream can never happen, but you might have fewer options for making it happen if you delay it too long. And when we're not making those decisions intentionally, when we're not taking in those factors into account, we do ourselves a disservice. And so I like to I like to say when I'm working with my clients, I pretend like we're in a car. It's my favorite analogy to use. So they're in the driver's seat. So they get to determine how fast or slow we go, right? So they can press the gas, they can pump the brake. They're manning the steering wheel so they can turn right or left, right? They're in control. But because I'm riding shotgun, I'm gonna check the GPS for them. I'm gonna let them know that there's a pothole ahead. I'm gonna remind them to check their blind spots, right? So I'm there to help them navigate, but I can't drive the car for them.
That's good. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good analogy. You're right. You're like, no, I can tell you this and that, but you gotta do it. And that's like I would tell people, you got to do the work. I can
Yeah.
tell you, give you all the tools. I mean, you as a coach, you deal with many women and your clients, and you can give them everything. I mean, you're giving them all the sink and the kitchen and all that stuff. And I'm telling you, and then books and templates and all everything they need. And they're still like, okay, well, I gave you stuff. You gotta do the work. You gotta do the
Yeah.
work.
And that's
So
such a good point. I also see with a lot of high achieving women, when they're so focused just on racking up the achievements and the milestones, they're often living someone else's version of success, right? They haven't taken the
mm,
time to define what success means to them. And so they don't know kind of when enough is enough because they don't have a measuring stick.
ooh, that is true. That's they didn't even, like you said, they couldn't even figure it out. Oh my God. See, now you got me thinking, I'm like, ooh, yeah, I need to sit back and I need to go in the corner and think about that for me. See, Queen, you
Yeah.
making me do some homework already. I need to think about that. That was good.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we be
Yeah.
so like again, we're just and it's like, well, wait a minute,
And it's
pause.
very easy to fall into that pattern because there's always more to be done. So we never reach a stopping point where
Mhm.
someone all of a sudden says to us, "Okay, now you have time to think about yourself." No, look, and you can't even say, "Oh, once I retire, I get to think about myself." So I'll never forget this. So my mom, when she retired from a very high profile job, high powered job, after about 30 years, immediately everyone said, "Okay, so when are you opening up your consulting company?" That was the conversation that everyone had with her. And she declined. She opted all the way out. She was like, listen, I'm just going to enjoy my retirement, take care of these grandkids, and spend time with my husband. That's going to be that. But like even retiring did not mean to the rest of society that she was done working. They just thought she was entering a different phase of her career. And so we have to decide where the stopping points are. When are we going to pull over to that rest stop? When are we going to look down and check our progress against the map?
Yeah.
And what kind of GPS system are we using? Because some are more accurate than others.
Mm. Yeah, it's funny how people automatically put us into other different phase. Now, maybe she just wanted to travel and just enjoy life and do something different for her. Maybe she wanted to go and just create crafts or something, whatever. No, when you start your consulting firm, what?
Immediately. It was
Immediate.
wild. Yeah. But I mean, that happens to us at all these phases of life, right? So for a long time, folks would say to me, when are you getting married? And then when I got married, it was immediately, when are you having kids? I had, my daughter, then it was, when are you having the next one? Listen, the folks will always tell you what you should be doing with your life. And that's why it's so important that we slow down and really figure out and tune into our own desires, our own passions, what we want, and define success on our own terms. Super important.
When you say certain drop the mic moments, I don't even want to say nothing after it because it's just so powerful. It's like, Barbara, what do you got to say? You don't got nothing to say. No, Elizabeth said it. So with that, Miss Queen, I want to give you just a little bit more seconds to say any lasting thoughts that you have. And I'm telling you, we'll bring you back up and I'll make sure that they get your contact, but I need to bring you back, lady. I really need to bring you back. So just to put
Absolutely.
that out there as a seed. But I'll be right back and I'll let you leave some lasting thoughts.
All right. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. I really want you all to take this moment and really think about slowing down and figuring out what success looks like for you. Not what your mom's version of success looks like, not what, your very first boss told you would be a good career for you, but really take the time and figure out what does success look like, and not just in your profession, but also in your personal life. What are the personal goals that you've been putting on hold because they're inconvenient? I promise you that when you are living a life where you are honoring both your professional and your personal goals and passions, you are more fulfilled. I hope you all just take that with you.
I could listen to you all day, Queen. All day. So as you see, this is what I do. This is the Coaches Lounge where I spotlight these amazing, wonderful experts that is helping people move those needles in your personal and your business life. as you notice, we talked a lot about, okay, you have, yeah, you're achiever, you're doing your thing in your business or your ownership of your business or corporate or wherever you're working at. But have you thought about your personal goals? Have you got into that? Have you put it off for 10 years like I did? Okay, I'm telling myself, just learn from me. It happens. You don't want to do that. And like you said, some things have an expiration date on when you can do things. I'm going to say something, Queen. I was going to throw this in before we close because when you said that, it reminded me of something that I had a personal goal about, and it expired way a long time ago. And why I'm saying that is because I don't know if you remember the show Fame. The show Fame with the dancers and everything. It was back in like the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I'm really aging myself. And I always, when I was a little big girl, I wanted to be a jazz dancer. I wanted to just be a dancer. I was like, Fame. I would be when the show comes on, I want to live. I would do all that, right? And then my mother started saying, well, you got to go to school. You got to make, that started coming down. I said, okay, I got to make grade stuff. Yeah, 9 years old, 10 years old, still trying to, 11, 12, 13, okay, 21. Yeah, I'm working at an insurance company. And somebody said, okay, how you went from Fame, I want to dance, to now you're working in insurance? I said, well, first of all, body's not fame anymore. My body and my health, not saying I was all broke down, but you got to start, especially when you're dancing stuff, you got to start at a really young age to build that up. And I didn't get the chance to do that. Do I sometimes think and say, what was me? And, well, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, sometimes I go back and think, but I say, well, look at all the other things that was done in my life that helping others and doing things. So I feel like that was my destiny. But I'm saying all that, like you said, back to what the Queen said, some things do have an expiration date. If you really, really want to do those personal goals, find a way to do that. And you know how you can do that? By going to this lady right here, Queen Elizabeth Burrows. She can sit there. Yeah, you knew I was going somewhere with that. She can help you get through that, Mr. and Mrs. Achievers out there. So, lady.
Absolutely. And I will say, I have coached men as well because men are not exempt from these issues. I tend to talk to the ladies in my marketing, but I work with the brothers too. So come on.
We got to help you out too, brothers. You know you need us. So, and I'm glad she has an open door for the brothers. Thank you so much, Queen. That's so sweet. But I just want to say, Queen, and everybody down, if you see below, that is Elizabeth's website. She also, like she said, she's a podcaster. So I know if you talk to her, you reach out to her if you need her for coaching. If you need, like, I think you do group coaching and one-on-one. Do you do both? Yeah, you do both.
I'll do workshops, group workshops, but not group coaching. Not yet, at least.
Okay, so she does workshops. She does the one-on-one coaching with people. Okay, and she has a podcast. So you never know. She might be able to be on her podcast that you can bring something in what she's doing. So all I'm trying to say is support this Queen. Please support her. Again, I want to bring you back on, Queen. Okay, so we need to talk. We definitely need to talk.
Absolutely.
So with that, everybody, thank you for another show of the Coaches Lounge with myself, Barbara J. Beckley, and the wonderful Queens and Kings, because I have both that come on to spotlight them. Appreciate them, support them, and I always say, let your light shine because you are a lighthouse to the world. See you next time.
Bye.